may have heard that the biggest names in art have a new home. I am pleased to introduce our guest speaker. Nannette Maciejunes has served as Executive Director for the Columbus Museum of Art since 2003. She grew up in Bexley, attended Denison University, and with her husband, they've lived now in Greenville over 30 years. They're blessed with one grown daughter who's given them 2 grandchildren, and fortunately when the first one was on the way, that's when they moved back to Central Ohio. Under her leadership at the museum, I will mention a few achievements from our newsletter. The museum had its largest and most successful endowment and capital campaign. In October, the museum completed its major renovation of its historic 1931 building and added on an additional 50,000 square foot wing and sculpture garden. The museum adopted and implemented the mission to create great experiences with great art for everyone. She will now share more about the new wing, upcoming exhibitions and programs. Let's give her a warm Columbus Rotary welcome.
Okay, thanks for inviting me. Now we've opened our expansion, and I wanted to give you a little bit of a sort of a, let's see, this is right? Yes, to give you the new CMA. And if you haven't driven by or you haven't come in, we've had huge attendance since we opened the new wing in October. So here's the journey. For years, the museum is actually pretty old. We're 1878. We were founded in 1878. We're actually the oldest art museum in the state because they actually passed state legislation that enabled the museum to be opened. I mean, we had to have certain legislation that allowed us to have a nonprofit arts organization in Ohio. We had no property for many, many years, but what most people remember that is in 1931, we opened this beautiful building that fronts Broad Street. It's our historic home. It's now called the Ross Building. It's right next to First Church, and State Auto's on our other side. This is the original way the building floated on this beautiful green lawn. And eventually let's see, is this got a thing here? Wait, there it is. Eventually, this row of buildings and houses were torn down, and that's where the museum's parking lot was built. So then in the 1970s, that's the last time we made a major infrastructure investment at the museum was really in the 1970s, when the 1974 wing was opened. And you see here a picture of that wing, and then this is the familiar entrance many of us for years went in and out under this sculpture by Stephen Antonakis. We started in 2005 a campaign that would transform the museum. And it was a physical transformation of the museum, but it was also a philosophical transformation. I want to talk a little bit about that as well. So here's our little timeline. We started with renovating. It was a 3-phase renovation of the museum in terms of its physical transformation. The first was this outbuilding that is called Baton Hall. It was the original school, was the original building for CCAD, which was then the Columbus Art School. Every time I open a building, it rains or snows or something. It rained when we opened Baton Hall and cut the ribbon. Then we undertook the renovation of our historic 1931 building. And the goal of that renovation was to make it the very best building it could be for the 21st century. When we built buildings in 1931, we didn't think about our knees. I know people who haven't visited the Broad Street lobby in years because of their bad knees. I would watch people walk and look and like, I'm not going down those. So we changed things, like we have a great little elevator that can take you to every level in the 1931 building. We raised Derby Court, the floor of Derby Court, so it's on level with the galleries. We opened the Center for Creativity. So it was a beautiful transformation. We also painted these arches blue because in the original design of the museum, those arches that surround the center court were actually all painted. This was the boldest thing I did. I ripped out the floor of Derby Court. Not everyone agreed with this, and we raised it. But in terms of accessibility, in terms of using the building, having Derby Court, the center court in the building, on the same level with the galleries really changed the experience at the museum. We also raised the ceiling and put this beautiful glass canopy over it. This is opening day. We opened phase 2. We completed phase 2, which is the renovation of the 1931 building on January 1st of 2011. And this is all of us gathered there. We also, as part of this renovation, opened a space in the museum's ground level that's called the Center for Creativity, and it was part of our change into embracing creativity as one of our social values, in fact, our central social value, and a new way of engaging our visitors. Museums are changing, and if we don't change with what our constituents, with what our public wants, museums are not interesting to you. We've got to engage you. We've got to get you to come on in. And why do you want to come down? Well, embracing creativity is one that I think really changes the way people think about the art museum. Most of us originally remember going to the art museum in the 5th grade. How many of us went to the museum in the 5th grade and we were dragged around by a silver-haired lady who was very, very pleasant, who told you lots of great stories about artists. And mostly you're thinking, thank God I'm not doing arithmetic today, and I'm not reading whatever it is. We're at the art museum. Well, that's not much of a selling point for the art museum. So what's really changed at the art museum in terms of this embrace of creativity is that the art museum celebrates creativity. Our walls and our galleries are filled with some great examples, some of the greatest examples of human creativity. Now, it's one kind of creativity, but by engaging at the art museum, by being at the art museum, what we're discovering from the youngest of us, our pre-K kids, our toddlers, all the way up to the oldest of us, like me, really can engage their creativity. We can get in touch with that. And why as a society do we care? Why as a culture do we care? We care because that creative impulse is what you have to have innovation and change. It's the only way our culture moves forward. Now, you may not be an artist, but you may have creative. I always go to accounting and everybody goes, oh, don't use accounting. You don't want creative accounting. But you know the impulse I'm talking about. Business change, academic change, all kinds of change in art, even public policy change comes out of this impulse for creativity. And that's what we want people to engage in. And so we've introduced a lot of great things in the museum. If you've not been down lately, you've got to come over. We have lots of little stops, visitor engagement stops, where people can slow down. My big goal is to get you to slow down, engage, and be part of the experience. Either turn this off or use it in a way to enhance your experience at the museum. This is the twist tie station. This is one of our absolutely most favorite things. People stop and create things out of twist ties. When the art students come, they just take pockets full of them and they go and make stuff and then bring them back to me. This one is one that was really successful for us. This is the kind of thing, I'm just going to use this one example and then we'll, this is an exhibition of over 100 black and white photographs of a group called the Photo League that was active in New York from the 20s through the 50s. For some of us who love photographs, it was a great exhibition. For most of us, it was, oh my God, there's 100 black and white photographs. And your eyes start to glaze over. Now, the great example of this for me is a young couple who were clearly on a date. We were clearly her choice and not his choice. She was a photo person, so she started going photograph by photograph by photograph. She was really happy. 3 photographs in, he hit the couch, and he just looked like he was totally glazed over. It's like, oh, it's going to be a long evening. She's going to go every photograph. She found this box that we had put in the space right here on a table, and it had words in it. And these words were related to the experience of the photograph. It might be justice, it might be poverty, it might be empathy. There were all these different words that related to these photographs. They're documentary photographs, primarily of New York. And she took a handful of these over and she started talking to him. And then he got up. And then together, and the activity was, you would actually put the word you thought best expressed the photograph on a hook. So you can see what other people put, you can put your own word. It went from, we had her at the get-go, we had her when she came in the door. We did not have him. But he spent with her an hour doing this activity, and when he left, he had a very different experience with us that he would have had otherwise. So it's those kinds of changes. We have these conversation stations where people can talk to each other across Post-it notes, we pose a question, we have puzzles, we have voting stations. Yes, small children cram the voting box, yes, with little, they decide how many they're put in there. It isn't about what you vote about, it's about you stopping, thinking about the question we're asking you to vote on and talking to somebody else. We actually like you to talk at the art museum, you don't have to be quiet. Here are puzzles. Puzzles slow you down, make you look, engage you. These are kids. I just love this photograph of these kids. They are doing a chef activity in front of a still life. We've also started some new creative partnerships. We've got a great one with OSU, with the Wexner Medical Center. Every young doctor now comes through our program. It's about observation skills, which leads to better diagnoses. And also, if the human brain doesn't slow down, the human brain is not very empathetic. So this is also a way to slow down, engage long enough with something that it kind of invokes empathy skills, which is something our young doctors are working on. We also have a program for dementia patients and Alzheimer's patients, and this is one of our great programs. And this is the one people stop me in grocery stores and stop and talk about their father, their mother, their sister, someone who had been with it. This is for the person suffering from these horrible conditions, as well as caregivers and loved ones. We also have a great teen program and part of a large teen network that we work with all of these other organizations to engage teenagers in getting them to feel differently about the art museum, as well as these other cultural opportunities. And all of this resulted in case you haven't talked to me lately, you don't know this, but in 2013 we won the National Medal, which is a very rare. Art museums almost never get this. It's given by the Institute for Museum and Library Services. I think we're only like the 15th art museum in the country to ever receive it. It's for transformational work in your community. You should be very proud that we won this, and that you live in a city where there is another National Medal winner. And who would that be? Do you know? The library. So Pat Lazinski has one of these, and I have one of these over at the museum, and we are extremely proud. You go to the White House, you are given this as an honor. It's an extraordinary moment. Then final phase 3, we dug a hole in the ground and we built a great new garden, this little west garden. And this is our opening moment with our breaking ground moment. I like flutterfetti. This is all ecological flutterfetti as opposed to confetti. We worked with a local architect, Michael Bongiorno, a young architect here who has done an incredible job for us. In case you missed it, we were at the year-end issue of the Wall Street Journal. We were the architect that she picked 3 or 4 projects for the year as her best in architecture, and we were one of them, which is an extraordinary. This is the original drawing. Here's some of the, now I'm just showing you things that you can see because you can come over. We rebuilt the garden. The garden that used to be here now is here. And the cafe is, in case you haven't been over, the cafe is right on the garden, and you can eat inside looking out, or we have a great terrace. This is an event space where you can have a great time. You can have a meeting, you can have a wedding, you can have anything you want, and there's stairs that bring you down into the garden, so you have this kind of access that goes from Derby Court, which is right there. That's the Derby Court, down through into that. And here's the new wing. This is the Margaret M. Walter wing, named for Peggy Walter, who is a long-term supporter of the museum. This is the entry experience. You kind of come over and experience it with the new cafe, the store on this side, and there's a desk here. The welcoming desk is right there. Here we are in the construction. Here's the entry. Got it covered. People were very happy to have this return, so you can now be under something as you approach in case it's raining. Here's the shot at night. It's cantilevered over. It gave us 50,000 new square feet. The first floor of the wing is of the Walter wing is dedicated to special exhibitions, and the second floor is dedicated to an expansion of the collection, so you can walk through. In fact, you can walk through galleries 1 through 10 in the historic building, and then cross these bridges and go into the new space. There it is. And there's the new garden, right as it's opening. These are all the great. This is fantastic. This is the Huntington Atrium. It's an extraordinary space. Things that are up right now, we have a great, 2 great shows. We have a show dedicated to Eva Glimsher and her impact as a gallerist on Columbus, Ohio. And we have a show on Paul Feely, that wonderful new sculpture that's on the tip of our property, that big blue, like wiggly columns outlined in red. That is by an artist named Paul Feely. And so we participated in an exhibition that kind of reintroduces Paul Feely to people. He's an important artist that hasn't gotten his due, which is something the museum does a lot with. Also, in new things in the, I think there are 33 or 35 things in the new installation that you have not seen from the public permanent collection, which is exciting, including this wonderful long-term loan from Roy Lichtenstein's estate, from the Roy Lichtenstein Foundation, which is a huge painting of the Oval Office. And you will have to go in. There's one thing in this office that has never, ever been in the Oval Office. So you have to come down and look at it, figure out what that is. We also have a great long-term loan from the Israeli Antiquity Authority, a 3-year loan of Roman glass. We did a project with the Israeli Antiquity Authority, that great mosaic that came, the Lode mosaic, and this is a follow-up project with them. And so we don't have anything like this in the collection, so it's exciting. And coming this summer, the next thing is a big exhibition on an artist named Melvin Edwards. Mel Edwards is a very important American sculptor that very few people know outside the art world, and they should, because he's that significant. He came of age during the Civil Rights Movement. It's an incredibly important sculpture show that comes to us from the Nasher Sculpture Center. And then we organized with the Barnes in Philadelphia a Picasso exhibition based around our great Cubist still life. So that is coming over the summer. And I must have just wanted to end with a beautiful garden shot. You could be looking at that while you guys ask questions.
Where do we park?
Where do you park? Well, the parking lot is open. So we took the back part of the property that faces Gay behind the new garden, and you have within 3 spots the same amount of parking that we've always had. Now, we need more parking, but the good news is, in case you don't know, the State Auto is a wonderful neighbor for us. And State Auto, in the evenings after 5 o'clock and all day on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, which are our biggest attendance day, allow us to park on their property. So we do have plenty of parking, so that's good.
What happened to the Stephen Antonakis neon?
That's a good question. I just talked to Mrs. Antonakis. Stephen Antonakis left us. He passed away, I think, 2 years ago now. We have kept that sculpture. It was site-specific. It was meant for that space. So I've been working with others in the downtown area. I would like to resituate it, resite it, so that it becomes a public sculpture in Columbus. We would still take care of it, but it would be in another public site downtown. So you will see it again. Probably not this year, but I will get it done before I feel a commitment. I talked to Mrs. Antonakis about it, so we will get that back up. It's a beautiful piece, and though I don't know how, neon is harder and harder to repair anymore because we've all moved on from neon signs, so it's going to be a challenge with Stephen Antonakis' work, but we have a commitment to that piece. It's a beautiful, beautiful sculpture.
I was wondering if you could share a little bit about the Nurses in Art that you put on last year that I loved, and if that's coming back.
Well, one of the things, so the question was about our Nurses in Art exhibition, and Judy, where are you? Put your hand up. Da 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 da. We're big on collaboration at the museum and co-producing content with partners. And this one was one I wasn't sure about, but Judy kept coming back to me. And she kept saying, no, you've got to think about this. You've got to think about this again. And she was right. And we worked together to create a great exhibition that honored the role of nursing. And one of the, with every exhibition, a lot of people don't know this, but every exhibition that we do, we think about the outcomes. We think about what we want our visitor to take away. And one of the things that we wanted them to think about was the profession of nursing and how nursing is a different profession, it's a different activity than being a doctor. And somehow we sort of lost the importance of nursing in the medical profession and in all of our lives. And so we did an exhibition that showed through the eyes of artists from different times the role of nursing. I don't know if that exhibition, we keep hoping that it might go elsewhere, that it might be revived and we might be able to share it with other institutions. It probably won't come back in that form, but you can look forward to other kinds of projects that we do with others. I mean, that's where you're kind of co-producing content. That's something we think would interest our community, and it was very, very well received. We did a health day at the museum, health and wellness day at the museum. So it was very well, people loved it. We had a good crowd.
Can you describe the partnership, formal or otherwise, collaborations with CCAD, and what opportunities you see in the future for?
Well, I can't wait to meet the new president. She's 40. Okay, so I feel really old at that point. 40, just 40. But I think they've gotten a great new leader, and I can't wait to see what she wants to do. I'm sort of in a holding pattern to see. We've had a long relationship. In case you don't know, CCAD, which was really the Columbus Art School, we actually were one organization for many, many years. And then some years we'd have like separate boards, but we were still connected. We have really gone around with each other for a very long time. Jenny and I used to tease that, after the museum and CCAD formally split so that they were one organization, we were another permanently, we laughed and said, we stopped talking to each other for a little while, then we went out for coffee. Now we're sort of dating and we're kind of cohabitating, but we'll probably never get married again. But our strength is their strength, and it's incredibly important. None of the art students have to pay to come into the museum. That's part of the package, is that they're welcome all the time. We do work with individual professors on using the collection with them. I just wrote for the book that they're having on Denny Griffiths for Denny Griffiths' show. We've talked about some more projects in the future where we might do some things, but since there's a new leadership, I don't want to make her feel that she has to do those things. So I'm eager to talk to her about what future projects we could do together, because it's a great strength having CCAD next to the museum. We are stronger together. Living side by side in that neighborhood makes us much stronger than if we were, physically separated, I think. Geographically separated, I should say.
I understand you're doing a collaboration on August Wilson?
Yeah, well, yes. That's another. We love to do partnerships. The Short North Stage got a great grant. They were one of the winners of the PNC Arts Alive grant this year, last year. And they are kicking off their August Wilson celebration. And we are one of several partners. We're very excited. And we're doing several programs with them. We have special works of art up in the galleries related to him and to his things that inspired him. So we're excited about that. And in fact, there is a kickoff. Is it this Friday or next Friday? It's next Friday. It's next Friday, because and I will be there. So it's great. It's wonderful to also collaborate not only with other visual arts organizations like CCAD, but also with performing arts. It gives it a whole different take. Yeah.
Is there anything, now that you've got the new edition open, anything that surprised you since it's been open you didn't expect? Or
I didn't expect to have bad door karma. I have bad door karma. I know everything else works beautifully. It's a beautifully designed building. It's designed beautifully. It's built beautifully. Cornica Kosing was our construction manager, and they did an extraordinary job for us. Everything came in on time, on budget. I cannot say enough about this wonderful Columbus team. I'm excited that this building was truly in Columbus, but it was created by Columbus people. But for some reason, I have bad door karma. None of my doors, I've got just all these little weird door glitches. And it's like every door in the building is like kind of this weird thing going on, and we got to fix them all. But it has nothing, it just has to do, I just think door karma. I must have done something to a door in my past life. Other surprises.
the way it's used?
It's all been great. Pleasant surprises. How beautiful that atrium is, even on a cloudy day for me. I go over there and it just makes you feel great, And I think one of the smartest things that we did was collaborating with Cameron Mitchell. It came out of a board conversation where a board member, we were going to do it ourselves. We always had our own catering and our own chef and our own this and that. And a board member said, you should do good business practice. You should put yourself out there as, would you hire yourself or would you hire, and we ended up hiring Cameron Mitchell to do both our catering and our restaurant, which is now called Shaco. And I got to say it was brilliant because I think that was just one of the smartest things the museum did, because they have that expertise and they are going to take us to a place we could never have gone on our own. Very exciting. I think we are still doing our own store, the museum store. If you've not been there, you missed a big chance in the holiday season. You should have shopped with us. Our big problem at the store is keeping enough product, is getting it sent in quicker, because we've got so much great stuff. So it's great.
Free Sundays still?
We're still having free Sundays, yes. It's still supported by PNC Arts Alive, and so free Sundays into the foreseeable future.
I work in the K-12 education sector, and one of the things I love about Columbus is that, you know, it's cultural arts. They open their doors up for students and their families. And thinking about COSI and the zoo, they have and host programs for high school students, you know, that are really focused in areas of STEM or areas of biology. I'm wondering, does the zoo in its new philosophy and new focus, do they have a similar?
Well, we have two things. We have, so I can go back to it really quickly because it's late in the presentation, which is why I couldn't find it. We have something called Surge Columbus, which actually started with a grant through Patel, which unites 5 of us, which is the library, the museum, COSI, the Wexner Center, and WOSU. And for us, it's also embedded in our teen night program that's a studio program. And that it's a drop-in program in which we have mentors, we have artists, young artists, and it's a way, it's literally kind of self-select, and it's the popularity has grown very, very steadily as one teenager brings in another one, and it's really open-ended so that it's called Homago, hang out, mess around, geek out. So the idea is you start where the adolescent is interested, where the teenager is interested, where does their interest lie, and you get them engaged going out of that. It's also called free-range teens. We're used to kids, you know, we're used to teenagers with parents or teachers. It's very different to have teenagers really engage the museum in a way they want to and really hang out with us. And that is going to, we hope, change the way they think about places like the museum in the future. And it's very based on a creativity format. Well, that was good. You have lots of questions. One more, last one, because it's like 1 o'clock and they're going to yell at me.
Restaurant hours?
Oh, this is cool. I should have said that. You can eat all day with us. So if you come, we open at 10. You come at 10 to 11, you can nosh on muffins and fruit, and we have great coffee, that cold roast coffee, tea, anything you want. Starting at 11, lunch is served. And you can eat any kind of lunch selection all the way to the end of the day at 5 o'clock. And if you come on Thursday evening, which is pay as you will on Thursday evening, we let you, it's not free, but it's like whatever you think you want to throw into the pot is what Thursday evenings are. And I've had a lot of people that have started having supper with us. They're either coming to a Thurber House thing, or they're coming to a program for us, or they're just going somewhere else, and they come around 5 or 6 o'clock, and they have a light supper with us, which is essentially our expanded lunch menu. It's the first time. You remember, it's 11 to 1:30, the only time you could eat at the museum. Now it's an all-day thing, so it's really, really great for us. And I think great for all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Come back next Monday when our speaker will be Scott Humphreys with Mission Essential. And in the meantime, be a Rotarian all week long.